In today's lesson, we're focusing on Task 2 and specifically task achievement, also known as task response. They're the exact same thing. You don't need to worry about the difference between them. They're just two names for the same marking criteria. By the end of this lesson, you will learn what task achievement is. You will also understand how an IELTS examiner decides on bands 1 to band 9 for task achievement in writing task 2. And then we will look at some typical mistakes that IELTS candidates make so that you understand where a lot of students go wrong and how that stops them from getting a higher score. You will be able to avoid those mistakes and make sure that you get a high score in your IELTS test. My name is Lara Ryan. I'm a former IELTS examiner, British Council IELTS teacher, and the founder of Complete Test Success. So if you're ready, let's get started on improving your scores. At its most basic, task achievement is just checking if you answered the question or not. So between 1 to band 4, for some reason or another, the IELTS candidate did not actually answer the question. Only from bands 5 onward has the student actually addressed the specific question that was asked, and that's really the first place that you can go wrong. If you cannot give a direct answer to the question, you're not going to get a high score. More specifically, for a band 1, the IELTS candidate will have written nothing. So the examiner will pick up the piece of paper, there will be maybe one sentence, maybe nothing, and that would be a band 1. This would normally happen if the student spent a lot of time on task 1 and they forgot to focus on task 2, or they didn't allow themselves enough time to focus on task 2. Band 2 is a little bit better than a band 1 where the candidate has actually written something, but there's still not really enough for this student to get a good mark. They haven't written a full essay, maybe half a paragraph or something like that. A band 3 is different in that the student will have written enough, as in you're expected to write 250 words for your task 2 essay. This student will have written somewhere around 250 words or more. However, it's very difficult to understand what they have written. The examiner will barely understand most of it. They might understand little bits and pieces, but there's no answer in there, and essentially they haven't answered the question either. Now, a band 4 for task achievement is really where the candidate is showing their language ability more. They have written an essay. The essay, in a lot of cases, would make a lot of sense and could be very well written, but they seem to have misunderstood the question in some way. It seems that they read the question, perhaps saw one of the topics or one of the words, and wrote about the topic in the question rather than answering that question directly. So I'd like to give you an example about this, but we'll take it outside the context of the IELTS test. Rather than looking at an IELTS answer, which we will do later, I prefer to just look at a very basic question first, and that will make it easier for me to explain to you exactly what the examiner is looking for. So let's say the question was, what's your favorite color? Now, this is not a task 2 question. You would never find a question like this in the IELTS test. However, we're just going to look at this for the sake of understanding task achievement. So, what's your favorite color? A band 4 answer would be something along the lines of, I really like blue. Now, in the real world, in a normal conversation, I would accept that, okay, you said you really like blue in response. That means blue must be your favorite color. But I have to infer the answer. I have to take it and use the context and decide on that answer for you. In the IELTS test, the examiner is not there to guess or interpret what you're saying. You need to give a direct answer. So saying, I really like blue is not saying my favorite color is blue. And that's really where the difference between going from a band 4 to a band 5 is that a band 5 will give that direct answer, which is what you need to do. Now, in a band 5 answer, this person would obviously have said more about the topic, but it's just not specific enough, or it's not relevant enough. And that would keep the student to a band 5. So giving a direct answer without anything else to add or anything else to develop or support that answer, that's a band 5. So to get from a band 5 to a band 6, you need to give your direct answer first of all, and then you need to add specific reasons for your answer. In this case, a specific reason could be, my favorite color is blue because it reminds me of the ocean and blue clothes look good on me. So to get from a band 6 to a 7 to an 8 to a 9, All you need to do is focus on those 2 reasons that you've given and nothing else. But your development needs to be in the context of your favorite color. So you cannot just say, I plan to visit the ocean later this year. You cannot just talk about the ocean. You have to talk about the ocean in the context of blue being your favorite color. So you have to stay on topic, it has to be relevant, and you need to develop it. How much development you add is basically the difference between a 7, an 8, and a 9. So you're just adding more relevant development, and the more you add, the closer you're getting to your band 9. So a band 7 answer will be the direct answer from the band 5, the 2 specific reasons from the band 6 with some extra development. So I could say something like, my favorite color is blue because it reminds me of the ocean, which is where we always went on holiday with my family when I was younger. As well as that, my favorite color is blue because blue clothes look good on me because they match my eyes. So just like we went from a band 6 to a 7 by adding some relevant development, we're going to move from a band 7 to a band 8 by further developing those same 2 ideas. So my band 8 answer would be, blue is my favorite color because it reminds me of the ocean and the fantastic holidays that I had there with my family when I was a child. The color blue reminds me of the fond memories I have of those holidays. Blue is also my favorite color because blue looks good on me, especially because it matches my eyes, and I actually get a lot of compliments from people when I'm wearing blue. So as you can see, it's just like building blocks. We started with our direct answer, we added our specific reasons on top of that, some development brought us to a band 7, some more development brought us to a band 8, and further development is going to bring us to a band 9. So a band 9 answer would be, blue is my favorite color because it reminds me of the ocean and the wonderful holidays I had at the beach with my family when I was younger. The color blue reminds me of the fond memories I have of that time, and I often look at photos of those holidays, and the color blue in the ocean really brings back those memories to me. Blue is also my favorite color because the color blue looks good on me, especially the clothes match my eyes, and I get a lot of compliments when I'm wearing blue, whereas when I'm wearing other colors, I tend not to get any compliments. Okay, so now that we have a good understanding of what you need to do for a high task achievement score, we're going to take it back into the context of the IELTS test, and specifically we're going to look at paragraphs written in response to an IELTS Writing Task 2 question. So the question we're looking at is, nowadays people spend too much time on their smartphones. Is this a positive or a negative development? Now, it would be no harm for you to write your own answer to this question first, because that will help you find your own mistakes. And the key to improving your IELTS score is finding your mistakes and not repeating them. Very, very valuable. So we're going to start with band 4. We're not going to look at full essays. We're just going to look at the development of one reason, because that's enough for us to understand where candidates go wrong and how to avoid these mistakes. Okay, so I'm going to read out a band 4 answer for you here. Smartphones are an incredible piece of technology with a massive range of useful functions. With an internet connection, a smartphone can be used to video call friends and family at no cost to the caller. This is a massive benefit compared to the amount of money that had to be spent on phone bills in the past. On top of this, the smartphone has reduced the variety of items that people need to purchase. For example, it's no longer necessary to own a watch, a torch, or a satellite navigation system, as their functions are all fulfilled by a smartphone. That means that smartphones save people even more money by reducing the variety of objects that a person needed to buy before their existence. Now, you might be looking at this piece of writing and saying, this is actually very good. And you're right, it is very good. In relation to the quality of the language, the vocabulary, the grammar, how it's constructed, how the ideas flow from one to the next. There are a lot of positive things about this particular piece of writing. However, they have not answered the question. We don't know if this person thinks that, in general, people spend too much time on their smartphones, or if they don't spend too much time on their smartphones. And that's really the only thing that he or she needed to say to get a band 5. But without that, all of this great piece of writing is gone to complete waste. It's all irrelevant, and the task achievement score is going to be a 4. So for this student to get a band 5, they're going to first of all just have to give us that direct answer that we're looking for. I completely agree that people need to reduce the amount of time they spend on their smartphones. That's enough. That's all we needed for a band 5. Now, to bring us to a 6, we need specific reasons. Now, how a student would go wrong is by including a reason that isn't specific. So if a student said, using smartphones is a waste of time, that's too vague. Or if a student said smartphones are not good for you, again, that's too vague. Or if they just had something vague like, people spend too much time on their smartphones because they shouldn't spend that much time. Those are vague reasons, and IELTS examiners see those types of vague reasons a lot. In fact, I would say over half of the IELTS answers, that the Task 2 answers that students write, have vague reasons like that. And really, what you have to imagine is, why? If you fall into that trap of having a vague reason, you need to ask yourself why. And usually the answer to that question, why, will give you a list of more specific reasons that you can actually use in your essay. So let's say, for example, you had the answer, people spend too much time on their smartphones because they're a waste of time. Okay, that's too vague, but you're heading in the right direction. Why are they a waste of time? What makes you say they're a waste of time? Now, if you can list out 3 or 4 reasons, they're very likely reasons that you could use. They would be the specific reasons that would bring you up to a band 6. So to get to a band 6, we're going to take that same direct answer we had from the band 5, and we're just going to add a specific reason. Now remember, we're just looking at one specific reason in this part of the lesson. This is not a complete essay. I completely agree that people need to reduce the amount of time they spend on their smartphones because people rarely use them to do something productive. Perfect. That's all we needed. Direct answer, specific reason. Now to get us from a band 6 to a 7 to an 8 to a 9, all we're doing is developing this reason with explanations or examples, and as long as they're relevant, that's fine. So let's say that this band 6 answer has gone off topic, and in their development they say something like, people really enjoy using their smartphones and that's why they spend so much time on them. Well, that's not telling me why it's not productive. You don't want to go down the road of telling me why people are using them so much. You need to keep it focused on the reason and within the context of the question. So you cannot start talking about internet in general or phones in general. You need to talk about people spending too much time on smartphones, and that in relation to how it's unproductive. So for a band 7, we're just going to add on to what we already had with the band 6 answer. Instead of keeping fit or learning a new skill, most people prefer to waste time looking at social media platforms or playing online games on their phones. So that's perfect. It's relevant. It's about smartphones. It's about too much time on smartphones. And it's still based on the topic of the time is being used to do something unproductive when people are using their smartphones. So this is all perfect. Now to get to a band 8, we just need further relevant development. A lot of my family members, for example, used to play sport and learn musical instruments in their free time, but now they tend to sit around the house on their phones. And we'll bring that a little bit further to a band 9. They will often tell me that they don't have time for those hobbies anymore, even though they spend hours on Facebook every day. So that's essentially how you get a high score for task achievement. You need to give a direct answer for the question, you need to give specific reasons for your answer, and you need to have relevant development of those reasons. Now, don't feel that you can just write a very, very long essay and that will increase your chances of getting a band 9. Anything you include that's irrelevant or anything you include that's vague or off topic is not going to help you improve your score. So you need to be very, very focused. And for that reason, it's actually really important that you plan your essay before you start to write it. Now, I know a lot of students think that, well, I already have to write an essay and now you're telling me I have to do an extra thing and that's more things to do, so that takes more time. I understand practically how you would think that, but the opposite is actually true. Because if you plan your essay in advance, you can look at your reasons and you can see, okay, this one wasn't specific, I will remove that and I will replace it with one that's actually appropriate. Or you're looking at your development and you see, oh, well, this bit wasn't actually relevant, I need to remove that and add in something that is. So in that way, by planning your essay, you're actually saving time because you don't have to think about these things while you're writing. You have all the ideas in place, you know that they're appropriate, and then when you're writing your essay, you're just focusing on actually communicating those things. Because students are so hesitant to plan their essays, I'd really like to hear from you in the comments to know, will you or will you not be planning your essays from now on? If you'd like my feedback on your task achievement, you're more than welcome to join me at my live feedback lessons that I deliver for free every week to my newsletter subscribers. If you think that other students would benefit from this lesson, click on the like button so that they can find it more easily. And I also have other Writing Task 2 lessons coming up in the near future, so make sure to click on the subscribe button to make sure you don't miss any of those.